Fletcher versus MJF kicked off this week's episode of AEW Dynamite, which meant one of the first things we saw was a giant American flag with lots of pictures of MJF's face on it. It's the most wrestling sentence I will ever say. Also, hello my friends, and welcome to Ups and Downs, the review show that will review the show, but also tell you what is going on in sports entertainment. So if you can't be bothered to watch, I will do it for you. Sound like a good deal? Excellent. Shake hands, and do not forget, All In is just around the corner. So if you want to come to the What Culture show that will be airing before All In, it's right around the corner from Wembley, so you'll be able to stroll on by. You can get tickets now. Link in the description. Let's go. Will Ospreay was also watching this match backstage at a very normal angle, and this obviously made sense. He is Carl Fletcher's best friend. Max also bailed at the start of this, just so he could cut the opening show promo, but I will say I appreciated the creativity. And he essentially said, hey, Carl Fletcher, you're on Australian oats. For some reason, he was desperate to lock up as well. And surprise, surprise, when he did go to do this with Kyle, he just booted him right in the tum-tum. I was a bit like, Fletcher, come here. Do not watch the show. You should have seen this coming a mile away. Thing is, though, not even MJF, the great MJF, is learning from 2024, because right after this, he smacked his D-pad and he started posing and he started taunting. I was like, bro, man, anyone that does that this year is getting totally screwed. And this is when Carl Fletcher snuck up behind him and went for the most devastating move. In all our sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. And sure, it only got a 1-2 ooh, but you do not want to risk it. Max then slowed things down with a back elbow and he did escape the tombstone when he acted like he was going to do the kangaroo kick. And I was like, well, he said he was never going to do that again, but I suppose if you are going to bust it out, you do it against a guy from Oz. Fletcher then used his arm as his leg and his leg as an arm and made sure he knocked MJF from the ring. He just did this crazy moonsault. I mean, that was absolutely ridiculous because boy did he fly. It didn't work out because he was then drop toe holded into Barry Barricade, which you rarely see. But once again, MJF was too distracted by the fans. So when he went to get Kyle, Fletcher got out of the way and Friedman essentially went flying into the audience. Kyle was then able to hit another dive, but by this point his arm was all woozy-goozy. And Jacob saw that right away and he started to work on this thing. That's what you should do. Wrestling's meant to be a fight after all, whatever you gotta do to win. There's also this amazing spike DDT that Carl Fletcher sold like he was dead when the internet got pissed off, because he was hit with a Canadian destroyer, but he used that momentum to take Maxwell Jacob Friedman out with a lariat. I don't know why people get so annoyed about this. It's wrestling. If you actually treated wrestling like it was super duper 100% legitimate, it wouldn't actually be very fun at all. Fletcher then did get his tombstone for a 1-2 ooh, and honestly, this is one of his best AEW performances yet. When Don Callis, who had been on commentary, walked to the ring, he was like, Kyle, why don't you use this screwdriver? I mean, it's absolutely preposterous. Problem is, given that he is Will Ospreay's buddy, he has morals too, so he didn't want to do it, or maybe he was just happy because he was like, oh man, I got a screwdriver and there's a shelf at home that I most definitely need to fix. But the problem was he was totally distracted. And silly boy, he forgot he was in a wrestling match. It meant that Max was able to smack him in the balls and hit the kick of the kangaroos before he finished him off with the brainbuster. 1, 2, 3. Ospreay was no fool as well, and he tried to run from the back to help his friend, but somebody had blocked him in there using a box-like structure. And I wonder who that could be. It did suck to be him though, because of course MJF just bludgeoned Carl Fletcher in the squared circle, and he had the diamond ring, and he did exactly as he did promise. And poor Carl was busted open, and there was blood. The whole time MJF is also screaming, this blood is on your hands, Will Ospreay, because he is totally crazy, when he was gonna hit the Tiger Driver, but that was too much for William, who got to the ring. As always, Don Callis was just stirring the pot. Because he was all like, oh, now you turn up, Ospreay, do you? You could have helped your friend here, so I smell a turn coming. But honestly, it was a great match, it was a great angle, and it has me pumped for their match at All In. As good as the first one was, maybe, just maybe, this one could be even better. I mean, we don't know, we haven't arrived there yet. Then got a video for Bryan Danielson versus Jeff Jarrett, which is going to be our main event, and all these people being horrible to Double J can just go away. I mean, one, that rhymed, so it must be true, but also two, as I always tell you, we have 52 weeks of programming every single year. If we can't do stuff like this, then what is even the point? When we did continue to build to our next pay-per-view, because here came Mariah May. She wasn't doing this. She was taking on Viva Van, and look, I like Viva Van, but I will say this match went way longer than expected, and given that Mariah May is the #1 contender and that Viva Van isn't officially on the AEW roster, I thought she could have ran through her a little bit quicker. However, something then happened later, and this one made even more sense So I'm totally fine with it. May was able to crush her with a German suplex and just beat on her for a while when she got mad at the referee, but you do not take your eyes off the opponent. Because do you know what Van did? She went for the most devastating move. In all the sports entertainment surprise roll-up, but it was a bad night for that move. It did not work. This is when Mariah decided to get serious and she gave her the sweet cheek music and the kiss of death, I suppose, because she hit the Mayday when she was like, I hate you, Toni Storm. And she got the victory after Storm Zero. Of course she did. Afterwards, too, she had this gift in the ring, and it was a massive poster of her and Toni Storm during the better times because they were hugging each other. And at first, Mariah was like, oh, this is so nice. But on the back, it said D, Mariah D. I was like, damn. Sideshow Bob must have made this thing. Now there's every chance it may have read die. I don't know. I wasn't there. This is when Toni Storm did appear. And she had that shoe. And she just started to bludgeon Mariah May. So bring it down. There's the crime counter. Because at the very least, this would be attempted murder, if not assault. And also, if Toni Storm did actually write die, Mariah die, on a poster and gave it to her, well, the crime counter tells all. It also meant that a massive brawl broke out, and even though there was like 76,291 security guards, nobody could break them up. But let's be honest here, this thing has been going since like late 2023, and it's about to peak at Allin. That's one of the best stories AEW is telling right now. So it does feel like we have arrived, and hey, Mariah May should probably win that championship in her home city. Give it a nap. But I have no idea what happened. Because we were getting a very good promo video with Jack Perry, who was like, man, Darby Allin, I hate you. And for me, because I watch on Triller TV, everything was fine. But I saw some noise on the internet, and I saw the clip. If you were watching this elsewhere, halfway through, there was just a Taco Bell commercial. Who wants some Mexican? I absolutely cracked up though, because Matthew is going to have a field day. I'm not going to give this a down. I had so many messages saying, Simon, you've got to give it a down. This is one of the funniest production errors I've seen in ages. And actually, I would love a wrestling show that just did random stuff the entire time. So don't you come into my house and tell me what to do. I don't care. Darby himself did turn up after this, and he had a much better point. He was like, Jack Perry's a TNT champion. I can't actually remember the last time he was even on TNT. Allin doesn't care though, because he shall continue to wrestle on Collision on Rampage before he goes to Allin and wins back that championship. You know what? There's a debate that he probably should. When Shibata defeated Bryan Keith. I mean, this learning tree isn't educating anyone. My favourite thing about all of this, though, is that Bryan now has a proper place on the show. Like, you can say whatever you want about Chris Jericho's group, but before this, he was kind of just appearing in random matches, and now he is a focal point. And I'm a big fan of Bryan Keith, so I sign off on it. Taz was removed from commentary as well, because of course Chris Jericho is here to take his place. I have a question. Who lets that happen? Why is this allowed to go down? Taz should tell him to flub off. Jericho also told us about his 4-star match with Suzuki, so I was like, man, I'm staying off the internet. When we went back to the ring, and yeah, for a good old while, Bryan Keith was actually whooping Shabata's ass. When he threw him into Barry Barricade and even hit a neck breaker, and on Shabata that just hits harder than it would anywhere else. This is when Shibata started to stomp on Bryan Keith's arm, and I was like, wait a minute, I thought that injury to Keith was meant to be fake, it was a ruse, but at the same time, you don't want anybody to stomp on your arm. The Japanese legend was kind of done at this point, so he sort of slapped Bryan in a very interesting way, when essentially he transitioned into the armbar and Bryan Keith tapped out instantly, and that should always be the way. In All Elite Wrestling, it just makes that move feel devastating. Big Bill and Jericho, of course, attacked this guy almost instantly, but that's just because we were about to get a mega save, because who has come back to All Elite Wrestling? That's right, it's Batman. Or Hook. And we haven't seen him since he was literally set on fire and he made a beeline for Jericho by going through Big Bill. And I tell you, it sounds like we're going to do this match at Allin, and Hook should probably walk away as the FTW champion. Ultimately, Billy was able to save his boss as they did Scarper away, and I'm sure we'll do something next week. Once again, this was just a nice way to move the story on and let you know where we are going to go. Also, Hook's back up. However, I do have to throw down in there because it's one of those things that I couldn't unsee as soon as I had seen it. This was the third match of the night, and after every single one, it was post-match attack, post-match attack, post-match attack. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing that at all, especially because it did all make sense here, but it is wrestling, and you can do whatever you want, and by the time you get to round 3, well, I say it all the time, it's the law of diminishing returns. So yeah, my nerd gland kicked in. Just a down. Orange Cassidy was then totally screwed because he was meant to be having a rematch against the Beast Mortos, Roderick Strong, and Roosh, but his conglomerate friends couldn't get here this evening because of the damn travel issues with the hurricane. He told Renee Paquette it's going to be okay though, because he's found a couple of new friends. But he also said, Renee, do you want to wrestle for me tonight? She went, nope, not really. He went, good idea. See ya, bye. I will always love him. Renee still had a job to do though, so she went and found Hangman Adam Page. You know the deal with this guy. He's literally never happy. She really risked her life here as well, because she was like, oh, hi, Adam. Listen, ever since you have come back, every single one of your plans, well, it hasn't really gone to plan. I was like, Paquette, are you crazy? It's gonna kill you. Paige kind of ignored this though and said there is one man who has taken everything from me and his ashes have left me in a pool of fake pride. Like, he didn't say that. Whatever did come out of his mouth was absolute gibberish, but because it is Hangman Adam Page, it kind of sounded pretty cool. So of course he is going after Swerve Strickland, and in case you weren't aware of that, we then cut to Swerve, and he was doing one of those sit-down interviews with Jim Ross, which means it's time to get super serious. They just wanted to promote Allin at first. They were like, oh man, if you think you're gonna miss this match with Bryan Danielson, you're absolutely crazy. When he got into it with Strickland and says, well, what are you gonna do? Swerve instantly talked about Allin 2023 and that his last match there was when he was in the ring with a bunch of legends. And look what has happened over the last 12 months. He's now in the main event. As far as he's concerned, he's on fire. He is. They are also asked about all the terrible things that he's done. Swerve was like, listen, if people aren't gonna let you in the door, sometimes you gotta make some noise. That's a great lesson to wannabe wrestlers. So basically, if you are not getting the due attentions you think you do deserve, go and kidnap somebody's child. They did focus on Danielson because Strickland reminded everyone of the gravitas here, because they ain't just fighting for the AEW title, a man's career is on the line. Swerve knows that nobody would give a damn about him if the roles were reversed though, and that's why he's gonna go into this match. While it will be an honor to retire Bryan, that's just what he's gonna have to do. Strickland doesn't care about Danielson's family either, and the big old question is, can Bryan's body even hold up? I Swerve, you're totally unhinged. It also means when he defeats Bryan, he's also going to take his legacy. I was like, man, now Swerve is basically Shang Tsung. What else is he going to do? Seriously though, he is absolutely in his groove at the moment, and every single thing he does just feels like it has everything on the world riding on it. So I am going to give it an up. And again, when it comes to this match, they've got me. I don't know which way it is going to go. Mission achieved. When we learned who Orange Cassidy's partners were going to be, and it was FTR, and they were indeed taking on Mortos, Roosh, and Roderick Strong, and it was our party match of the evening, and it was just a lot of fun. We also learned at the start of this too that come Allin, we are going to get one of those casino gauntlet matches. I was kind of in two minds here. One, it's the best creation AEW has ever come up with, and also it means more stars can get on the card, which is always important, but two, there's just this small part of me that really hope it becomes AEW Royal Rumble, and we make a big song and dance about it just once a year. But hey, I don't care. If I get to see one in my backyard, I'm totally cool with it. Matt Taven and Mike Bennett were also watching this from ringside, so I was like, well, who let them out there? And for a while, Roderick Strong was doing his thing until FTR cut him off. That's what they do. Cassidy also then kind of fell off Cash Wheeler's back in a very interesting attack. And when the bad guys had been ejected from the ring, Orange Cassidy and FTR got together and they did a pose. I was getting worried. I was like, did you not listen to me earlier? It always goes bang. At least they cleared the area first, but surprise, surprise, soon after this, poor Cash Wheeler was just getting splashed over and over again. I was like, dude, you most definitely brought this on yourself, but everybody, please stop taunting. The thing is, Wheeler knows what to do in this kind of situation, so in the corner of his eye, he could see that Dak's hand was smoking, and he gave him the slap, kinda hot tag. Harwood went for a superplex too, but Strong sort of escaped when Mortis was in. He did the best swanton you've ever seen. And later he did a dive, so someone needs to examine that guy, because what can't he do? Somehow the referee got distracted during this as well, which is when the Undisputed Kingdom got involved. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even mad at it. If somebody is going to greenlight them being that close to the ring, how can you blame him? It'd be like putting the cookie jar on the floor and the cookies get eaten by the child. What were you expecting? We then got more back and forth when it was Orange Cassidy that got the proper hot tag, and he went at it with the Beast Mortis. And let us just give a round of applause to Mortis. Him and Claudio Castagnoli are probably the best bases in all of wrestling. Some of the things they're doing were absolutely ridiculous. Cassidy then wanted the orange punch, but Roderick was back and he cast distraction, which is when Mortis just absolutely flattened this dude, when all of a sudden Cash Wheeler was here and he was throwing bones. Bruce then got rid of him and all of a sudden he got hit by the beach break, but he kicked out at one, and by that point, the tag klaxon sounded and everybody just fought. The absolute best part is when Mortis was going to use Barry Barricade to crush Orange, but he got out of the way, meaning Bennett and Taven got theirs. And that's when you could smell it, the end was near, and this was totally true. We got the orange punch, and we got the shatter machine. 1, 2, 3. This came after Roosh had gone for the bullhorns as well, so he's going to be super mad. And right after this, the Acclaimed walked to the ring. They were going to say something, but their mic didn't work. I think Max Caster and Anthony Bowens are just mad at Cash and Dax, though, because of course they are the #1 contenders for the AEW Tag Team titles after beating the Bucks. But now it's FTR that want the shot. It's when they both realised they're at an impasse. They got into a massive fight. I'm going to assume come All In, we are going to get a 3-way for those belts. So I thought this did a good job. Again, I will just mention to tie into my previous down. Once again, there was a post-match beatdown, but look, I've talked about it. We don't need to stand around here. But in terms of getting you ready once again for the big show, up. The Patriarchy then told us that the Bang Bang Gang and the House of Black are going to have a match on Collision, and the winners will be the brand new #1 contenders for the Trios Championships. Once again, that is the most wrestling sentence ever. Kristen is also going to be the special guest referee for that, because everybody needs a father figure. So if I was going to guess, we'll probably do another triple threat here, and it will be a 3-way for the 3-man titles. Math. Then also got a video of the hologram, Collision's newest luchador, and honestly, this excites me very, very much, because not only is he an absolute blast to watch, but if he is getting the video treatment on Dynamite, hopefully he's going to get a massive push. And if we do that, let's see how far we can go. He has potential in his bones. When Camille wrecked Jasmine Howe and Clara Carter. I mean, she really did whip their ass. It also meant she beat 2 people, but Carter was my hero of the day here. Because at one point, she was just running away from Camille. Anyone that does that is all right by me. She also got booted right in the face as Jasmine got hit with the torture rack slam bomb thingamajig. When, yeah, Carter looked at Camille, was like, don't do it to me. And she didn't. She hit the Dominator. 1, 2, 3. This ain't a bad well to get Camille over. She was like the brick house. It also justified the earlier Mariah May match though, because yeah, the fact that went a bit longer meant this one felt twice as intimidating, which was the point when Mercedes Moné got on the mic and was like, Britt Baker, you still suspended. Now of course that turned into a massive talking point this week, and if you do want my 2 cents, and people do ask for them, I don't really care. All that happened is a couple of people fell out at work. That happens all the time. It's not the first time, it's not the last time. I do understand why it's an interesting story. This was like a few days ago. I move on. Monet then started calling Britt Baker names. All of a sudden, Tony Schiavone just interrupted her. He was like, hey, I've just talked to Christopher Daniels and Tony Khan, and they have overturned the suspension on Britt Baker given to her by the Elite. So she is back via satellite. Started to laugh. Like, this does make sense in terms of the story, because if this only just did get overturned, how the hell would Britt be at the arena? But at the same time, it's wrestling, she probably should have been there. It doesn't matter though, because she made it clear that no matter what Mercedes tries to do, they will fight it all in, because Britt Baker sees these things through to the end. And like Mercedes, we all know when things don't go well for her, she takes her ball and goes home. It's insider baseball. Britt also promised to win at the pay-per-view, and next week she's going to find a way to beat up Mercedes Moné. Once again, that rhymes. So I think I've got it right. Now look, I really enjoyed the squash match, and we have something here with Camille, and I am going to give it an up. And I really do like this feud between Mercedes and Britt Baker. I'm super excited for the match. But what we did here, I don't know, man, it didn't really live up to the expectations of what we've done the last few weeks. And I do understand there's outside circumstances here, which probably meant we had to shift direction. But listen, I'm just some idiot fan watching it on TV. And yeah, I do think there is better to come. I'm giving that a down. I mean, you can hear it with the fans as well. It didn't really get them G'd up either. That's okay. Not everything can be perfect. That wouldn't be very realistic. We then learned that Claudio Castagnoli is the new #1 contender for the Continental title, because he had won a match on Collision. So now I'm starting to think we are going to do Okada versus Claudio at All In 2, or All In 3 technically. And I'm sorry, but hook that to my veins. I'm going to be super annoying though and throw a random down in here though, because we are building to All In. What the flub are we doing with Pac? Now he's probably going to be in the Casino Gauntlet, which is totally fine. But a few weeks ago, he was winning matches and he was winning international title shots. And he hasn't said anything for weeks. And again, I'm sure there's a reason for this, but as a massive Pac fan, I take this personally. That's why I'm giving it a down. When we did get to our main event, which was Jeff Jarrett versus Bryan Danielson in an Anything Goes match, and Ricky Steamboat was on commentary, just the sort of madness I need in my life. Double J is just so good though, because despite being like 58 years old, he totally understands that as long as wrestling is fun, you can do whatever you want. As for Bryan Danielson, where's Bryan Danielson? could be the best wrestler ever. Jeff had a huge plan here too, because he just smacked Bryan in the back with his guitar during his entrance. And even though he was with Karen Jarrett and Jay Lethal, who were meant to be heels, even they're like, man, Double J, I think that's a little bit much. He also got a chair and started to smash this guy, but that's the whole point. He is trying to get Bryan Danielson ready for All In, because you've got to be ready for Swerve. Otherwise, as Swerve's already told you, he's probably going to kill you and steal your family. They were soon fighting in the audience as well, and they went all the way to the concession stand, when Bryan Danielson had a bottle and he was hitting Jeff Jarrett on the head. You know what Double J did? He's like, nah, man. And he booted Bryan right in the balls. He also smashed him with a trash can when we saw Prince Nana and Swerve Strickland watching on, which didn't make sense. It was really entertaining. And they got back to the ring. Jarrett hit the 10 punches in the corner, and I was gone. I was like, man, what a total 180. Bryan was then hitting Jeff using barricade, so Jarrett just threw a chair at his leg. And by this point, I was like, this has been going for like 8 minutes, and I think they've done absolutely everything. It also meant that Bryan was kind of injured, which was terrible for him, because of course Jeff Jarrett is the king of the figure four. So after a bit more fighting, have a guess what happened? That's right, he locked in the four of the figure. This one we got more shots with the chair, including them getting to their feet, and Jeff Jarrett hitting the stroke into the chair. And I was like, right, that's it. I don't know who's in charge here, but somebody should give that chair an award. That really did get a good 1-2 ooh though when Jeff Jarrett went straight into the sharpshooter. But Bryan Danielson was having none of this, and he used his weird octopus moves, and he put Jeff Jarrett in the label lock. I was like, man, that was a damn good transition. This is when all the punches broke out when Jeff Jarrett hit an insecurity. I was like, what can't he do? But ultimately, Bryan was able to get back to his feet, and given that he was quite pissed off to show that he is growing in the right direction before the pay-per-view, he put the chair onto his knee, and he hit the big running knee, and he got the 1-2-3. So what an unexpected war this was. Jeff Jarrett's crew came out to check on him afterwards because he was bleeding, as did Wheeler Yuta. When there's a bit of a rut-row moment, because here came Swerve Strickland. Now he was playing no game, because he was like, man, look at all these legends out here of the network. You've got Jeff Jarrett, he's been a champion. You've got Ricky Steamboat, he's been a champion. And you've got me, I've been a champion. But once again, in terms of this network, Bryan, you ain't never been a champion. I just kind of laughed to myself. I was like, dude, he could just reply and say, yeah, but I won the main event of WrestleMania 30. Let's just move on. Strickland is still sad though, because he's going to have to retire a legend, but at the same time, what an honor to say that he did do that when he reiterated, the only thing about you, Bryan, is we don't know whether your body is going to hold up, when my damn Triller TV feed just stopped. I was like, well, now I don't know what's going to happen, because I'm a petty man that's getting it down. Thankfully, I do have the internet, so I learned that Swerve had essentially told Bryan, I'll hit you with a kill shot, which is totally crazy. And because he wants to warm up before his big match, he challenged Wheeler Yuta next week. He also told Bryan Danielson to sit front row so he can get a big old education. I was like, isn't that nice? It must have gone and bought him a ticket. All of this ruled though, because you got the super fun match that ties into the story, and then Swerve came out to make it super duper serious. And I've told you once, I've told you twice, I now do not know who is winning, so they've totally hoodwinked me, and it's getting it up. I'm also starting to worry that Danielson is going to lose, because just go listen to his recent interviews, although he does like to lie. But yes, given that we are a couple of weeks away from All In, I thought Dynamite did the job, although let's hope they do ramp it up next week, giving it an up. Now, of course, what's more important is your thoughts, so let me know in the comments below. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is ups and downs for Raw, to follow my entire thoughts on professional wrestling. But otherwise, have a great day, my friends. See you soon.